What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of View for Your Eternity Season 2. This is episode 18, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we pick up immediately after that grim cliffhanger ending that we seen with Kahaku's knocker pretty much devouring fu- pretty much every single Fushi forms. And it gets to the point where despite March's attempts to try to stop the knocker, she gets knocked back, but of course Kahaku stops it by literally just cutting his entire left arm off with a knocker of it. So it just so he's pretty much like, he pretty much gets rid of, of the knocker that's been, I guess, it's been going through his entire family line for several generations, I guess.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the knocker separates itself from Kahaku finally. Um,
Yeah,
and,
but yeah,
yeah.
but of course, Fushi's like literally nowhere to be seen, and thanks to that, it causes like a lot of havoc and chaos throughout the entire city because Fushi's not able to to function properly while pretty much he's been reduced back into an orb, uh, since like I guess back during his creation.
Yeah. What I did like about this episode is everybody has to try to find a way to, or it has to basically survive without Fushi's help, because Bond notices too that um, all the weapons or the ammo and weapons have stopped replenishing, and all the there aren't new structures being built or anything like that. So he notices that something's wrong, that something might be wrong with Fushi because, of course, he's no longer helping out.
Yeah, not to mention that Cairo High and what was it, and Nessar are all dead. So
Yeah,
that creates another wrinkle, and it's just it just gets even more like, how do you say it? More depressing to watch, like all these people just trying to fend off the knockers all by themselves, only to be killed by, well, slowly killed by them one by one. Not to mention being killed by the knockers taking over Fushi's forms. I think one of them ended up turning into Perona, basically shooting arrows at each and every one of them.
yeah. I was wondering what that was supposed to be, but yeah, I guess you were probably right. That was supposed to be Perona.
Yeah,
Um, the
but
yeah, one of the characters died fairly unceremoniously too. Like I forget what his name is. That fat guy. He gets crushed by one of those boulders, or I guess those rocks.
yeah. Well, before that, he was being devoured by the knockers
Yeah,
before being crushed, and then one of his friends just tried, to save him, but to no avail.
I thought
Uh,
that was kind of ridiculous. It's like he's obviously dead. She's still trying to like dig him out. Um,
I mean, unless if there's some way that they might bring him back, but
well,
it's a complicated situation based on like how much Fushi would
I
really know
mean,
these people.
yeah. Um, but yeah, like eventually, of course, Bond finds out what's going on. Um, Fushi's Fushi's horse intervenes too. Like the horse um tries to protect Fushi, I guess, from Gahaku.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then of course the horse ends up taking March over to Bon, pretty much relaying everything that's happened. So
yeah,
eventually Bon makes it back over to the house to find pretty much Fushi missing. But eventually he finds the orb connected to a piece of rope that Fushi created. And of course, both Bon and March despair over like how they can try to bring him back. Eventually, like Bon, well, has an idea, but he tells March to pretty much go out, I guess, to travel over to his kingdom to tell everybody what's happened. And then Bon takes the desperate step to pretty much kill himself to, I guess, allow Fushi to take his form later.
I was wondering when I was watching this, like, how did Bond know that was going to work? That it was going to bring Fushi back. Uh, like, did he just do that on a whim? Like, did he just think like, oh, if I kill myself, he'll come back? Uh,
I guess he did
I
do it in the wind because there's just like, it's basically nothing anyone can do about it, considering that Fushi's
Because I was trying to remember,
been.
like, in the beginning of the series, like how Fushi got the first form, which was the wolf, and I think it was because like that wolf died near him or something. Because he became like he became an inanimate object at first. He was an orb, then he was a rock, and then he turned into the wolf. I think because the wolf collapsed near him and he took its form. Um, the same thing with the boy. The boy died and he took the form of the boy. Um, I mean, it's like I guess that would work. Like if somebody just dies near him, he can if you just take their form.
Well, it
Uh,
makes sense because Fushi's had, like, a close relationship with Bond for over the years, so it makes sense
yeah,
that, like, Bond would already have, like, an impression, over Fushi because the only way that Fushi can really take the form of somebody is if he knows that said person or object, for a certain amount of time, in order
mhm,
to gain their forms. So it makes sense that Bond would take that desperate step to really kill himself and then allow Fushi to take his form soon afterwards.
yeah. Um, I think well, we also see Echo comes in too, and we see that now the knocker had attached itself to her arm, um, after it fled from Kahaku. Um, I guess that happened off screen, but now it's inside her arm.
Mhm. Yeah, and of course she doesn't tell Bond nor March about this, and she basically just tries to commit suicide by jumping off the building, but but of course the knocker on her left arm ends up stopping her, and then her flesh ends up transforming into, I guess, the boys or Fushi's or the boys like, head into her arm, telling her that, just, you know, don't kill yourself or whatnot. It just makes it look even more creepy just seeing that.
Well, he said something more like, "I'm not going to let you do that," or something along those lines. But
Yeah.
yeah, like it made sense because the knocker had, I guess, is taken all of Fushi's forms. Um, so yeah, it seems like the this knocker is going to become like one of the pretty much like a main villain if he has all of Fushi's forms. Fushi's going to have to try to get them back. Uh, but of course, because Bond killed himself near Fushi, Fushi ends up taking the form of Bond. But we see that he regains all of his memories too of the people he had known that died.
Yeah, but I thought that he would forget them by the time like the knocker ended up taking all their forms. So it's just
Yeah, I'm not
un-
exactly sure how that works.
unless this is another part of the evolution of Fushi's abilities, it's
It
just
could
not
be.
it's not clear at this point. But but
Also, I
yeah,
found interesting too that March, I guess, has been watching the whole time because she seems to know everything about what's been going on. Um, I guess it makes sense that she was maybe there with him in spirit form the whole time. Maybe
y-
same with all the other forms he has.
yeah, and I also noticed that the spirit of the bear is also there too, meaning
Yeah.
that I don't know. It's just like I thought like this, the bear spirit would disappear, but I guess it's separate between like the knockers taking, um, Fushi's forms and the spirits like pretty much following Fushi around.
hmm Um, but yeah, I thought this is definitely it was a more interesting episode than what we've been seeing recently, just because of what happened, and because Fushi was just out of commission for most of it, and
Yeah,
also just because March showed up again and we get to see her again.
yeah. I just felt like the battle in Renrel just started dragging out for the last couple episodes before it started.
Yeah.
Yeah, before it got a little bit more interesting with with this episode with Fushi being out of commission, and now we have at least two more episodes of the season left to see to see how this whole entire battle is going to end.
Yeah, I have a feeling like unfortunately I really have a hard time believing there's going to be a season 3 of this, because I really don't feel like a lot of people are watching it. I just get that impression. I don't know for sure, but I just feel like a lot of people have probably dropped this. Probably like I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people dropped it probably around the halfway point or so. Um, I just
Probably.
I doubt a lot of people are really watching it, so I don't feel like there's a lot of incentive for there to be a season 3. But I could be wrong. But I just if it's definitely not doing as good as season 1 was. I'm pretty sure. Um, but
I just feel like it's I don't know, the production in this kind of feels a little bit lazy, not to mention the fact that they
yeah,
reused that they're reusing Pink Blood from season 1. I thought that they were gonna have,
Yeah.
like, another song, but, to my surprise that they decided to keep Pink Blood. I mean, it's a good song, like, they could've.
I hope if they do a season 3, they don't reuse the song again. I kind of want them to do something else. I mean, I guess I kind of understand that they reused it because I don't know. I guess because I mean, it is a good song, but um, I mean, at least they have new animation for it. But yeah, hopefully, if there is a season 3, they have another song because I think if they do that again, people are really gonna get sick of it.
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess we'll have to see, I guess the next 2 weeks to see how the finale is gonna end up unfolding. So, yeah.
Yeah. The problem with this season really has been the pacing. I think it's just had a lot of pacing issues, um and it also feels like the production value has definitely gone down a little bit. I mean, obviously there was a studio change, um, but it really doesn't feel. It feels like the animation for the most part has been fairly. Well, I guess I'd say fairly mediocre. Not bad, but just not really that impressive either.
Mhm.
There was only that one instance in the last episode where it felt like they put some effort into it, and then after that, it kind of dropped off again.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully I don't know, hopefully they'll deliver in these last 2 episodes. It's just that I don't know, I just felt like this entire season dragged out, uh, I guess in the first half, and then it just kinda got into a slog with the whole Renrel arc, and then I mean, it's started getting good, up to this point, but I just feel like it's a little bit, I don't know, too little too late at this point.
I feel like a lot of what's happening too could be explained by what happened with the manga because from what I understand, like this was originally going to um it wasn't being published in I think it was Weekly Shonen Jump. It started being published in at some point and after that the creator decided to make this like a long running series. Um and I think that that's where the problems of like a lot of like the padding comes in where there's just a lot of like pacing issues and all that, um, and I feel like that could explain a lot of what's going on in the anime. That
Yeah.
yeah, like because the first season felt pretty different in that it felt like the story was going somewhere, but now it feels like it's really just like meandering a lot and just it doesn't it just feels like we're kind of doing some of the same things we did in season one. Sort of, and Fushi is becoming really overpowered. He hasn't really developed too much as a character. Um, and of course, we have all the pacing issues with that. Um,
Yeah. And
yeah,
and of course, speaking of like a continuation, yeah, the story is still ongoing right now, even
yeah.
going as far, I guess, into modern times, from what I can tell based on the manga or light novel covers. But that's I guess that's where we are right now. But
I did hear that, like, I forget how long ago it was, but I heard that it was rumored that the series was coming to an end at some point. But of course, I think as of recording this, I guess it's still going. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, it hasn't ended yet. Um, but I like I said, I find it kind of unlikely that we're going to see a season 3. I mean, I guess it's possible, but um, I don't know. I feel like the viewership for this has definitely dropped off after season 1. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, but I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I mean, it was one of the better episodes because of what happened in it. Um, Kind of interested to see where they take it in the last 2 episodes, but um, yeah, this at some points the series is, especially season 2, has been kind of a slog to sit through. Honestly, it's been. I mean, this is supposed to be the climax of the season, and a lot of it's felt kind of boring at times, just because, first of all, Fushi's ridiculously overpowered, and second of all, it's just, I mean, we it's there's no reason to really care about what's happening. That's the other big problem with it. We don't really know. I mean, we don't really care about most of these characters, so there's no reason to care like what happens to them. The animation hasn't been like bad, but it hasn't been great either. It's just kind of like, I mean, even then, like, I mean, you could still make something decent out of that, but it's just, I don't know. It's just been pretty boring. It's just not entertaining to watch. Um, except maybe for what's happening now because what happened with Fushi, and because of that, Fushi's not protecting them. He's not around, so it's kind of different. But yeah, until that point, it was just kind of like I said, it was kind of boring. There wasn't really much to what it felt like. I mean, there was a lot going on, but at the same time, it just feels like there wasn't much going on, which is weird. But I don't know. I just felt like the season has had a lot of just like I mentioned before, a lot of padding, where it felt like they were just dragging things on for longer than they should be.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully that the last two episode finales will hopefully deliver on such as just such a I don't know a weirdly divisive season thus far because I don't know
Yeah.
I don't really like its character much of his characters. I'd say like half of its characters were a little bit interesting, but some
Mhm.
were introduced like a little bit too late for for my taste. Like Cairo, Haya, and Nessar are interesting characters, but they kind of got thrown in there out of nowhere. Kahaku
Yeah.
is I don't know. He's like alongside Hayase, he's like almost like the second most hated character based on like how much of a perverted sexual predator he became like near the end. It's just
Yeah.
I mean obviously just because of like his his nature being like one of Hayase's descendants of being obsessive over Fushi, but it's just like to the extent of like how he wanted to get close to Fushi just got really disturbing at times.
Yeah. It's just I mean, I think a lot of us probably saw that coming considering who he's related to, but um, yeah, it definitely got pretty creepy, especially around at the end of the last episode. Um, but yeah, I'm wondering what they're gonna do with his character at this point, especially since he doesn't have the knocker in his arm anymore.
No.
Uh, but yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about the episode though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, well, I will have to see what's going to happen in the next two episodes to see how exactly the season is going to end and whether or not they will have any sort of plans to make a season 3 out of this.
Yeah, I guess really the last episode will be a indicator of if that's going to happen or not. But yeah, guys, I guess until next time, we will see you all later.